You all seem to love the 10 strangest types of RC planes, so with the help of the comment section, we were able to come up with 10 even stranger types of RC planes. So, without further ado, let's look at some of the more unknown aspects of our dusty hobby, and be sure to let us know what else we missed if you'd like to see more. Number 1. Cyclocopters or cyclogyros. The wing of a cyclocopter looks similar to a paddle wheel, except it uses airfoil blades to generate lift, and constantly adjusts the blade angle as it spins. These originally were actually patented first in 1927 by Jonathan Edward Caldwell, the dude who made this thing, but was never prototyped. Then, in more recent years, some members of our awesome community have created successful RC variants. All the examples we found utilize a flight controller, which explains why early attempts never worked out. Rotors rotate around the horizontal axis to generate thrust by pitching the blades once per cycle, which creates a positive angle of attack. The angle of pitch is adjusted using a servo so that the direction of thrust can be changed into whatever direction the pilot wants. For more info, check out the RC Groups thread linked in the description below. Number 2. Cycloidal rotor airplane. Since we know you quickly went to the comments to say our previous point wasn't an RC plane, this one's for you. Nicholas Rem designed a cycloidal airplane that, well, actually looks like an airplane. He used the cycloidal rotors for thrust as well as lift. Due to some belt slipping issues, the experiment ended prematurely, but he did have some success with flight, and we think this one is really cool. One advantage he cites with using a cyclorotor for thrust is that they offer a much lower tip speed compared to a conventional propeller for the same thrust, which means they can be significantly quieter. This led to some full-scale air taxi startup companies exploring using a cycloidal rotor aircraft for transportation purposes, but typically these companies burn and die quicker than the hype built up surrounding the innovation. Number 3. FPV Combat. Normal RC combat involves cutting streamers on each other's planes. Unfortunately, that often results in cutting the airplanes as well. The company FPV Combat has created a platform that can be installed on any RC vehicle equipped with an analog FPV system that lets the user add fighting functionality to their models using IR technology. This is basically air laser tag. While not necessary for functionality, adding an OSD to the system allows you to see ammo, lives left, and even a sight. There's more information on their website about 3 different game modes offered, which can be found in the description below. This isn't something we've tried, but if you're interested in watching us give it a shot, let us know down below. Number 4. RC Orithopter. The niche of RC offers everything from scale models to things that are out of anime. An ornithopter is an aircraft that uses flapping or fluttering wings to create flappy thrust. There's a lot of companies out there selling RC model ornithopters, which is a little surprising, considering we'll bet most hadn't even heard about this niche of RC. Some have even ventured as far as putting FPV on their ornithopter, which is arguably about as close as one can get to a bird simulator, if that's your thing. Number 5. Asymmetric Aircraft. While arguably not a niche because so few have successfully documented it on YouTube, the premise of this idea is to prove you understand the fundamentals of flight and that you're better than everyone else. Typical aircraft have a left and right side that look identical to each other. An asymmetric aircraft does not. Some fly better than others, but basically, you build a weird-looking aircraft, then use weight to move the center of gravity over to the center of pressure. Ideally, thrust should be placed in line with the center of gravity, but if you're extra stupid like us, you don't. Although not RC, German designer Blohm & Voss is likely the largest name in the asymmetric aircraft niche, as they designed a few asymmetric aircraft for World War II. Number 6. Ground effect vehicles, or GEVs. GEVs are to airplanes what chickens are to birds. Do they fly? Technically, but with some significant limitations. Either way, that doesn't make them any less cool. Basically, these vehicles don't produce enough lift to leave ground effect, so you'll only find them flying low. If you don't know what ground effect is, it's a phenomenon experienced when an aircraft is less than a wingspan's length above the ground. The aircraft will have smaller wingtip vortices, less downwash, and more vertical lift, all of which reduce induced drag. In layman's terms, ground effect makes aircraft fly more efficiently and sometimes allow aircraft that would otherwise be bound on the ground to fly. Our buddy Daniel at RC Test Flight is probably most notorious for his GEV creations, but there's been a bunch of people on YouTube experimenting with different designs. While technically not RC, think flight created in a chronoplane he stands on and rides behind a boat. It's definitely worth checking out. If you haven't heard of this niche, it's an easy one to fall into a rabbit hole on YouTube with, and some links are found in the description below. Number 7. FPV Cockpits. FPV offers a convenient option to dip your toes into the world of full-scale aviation. FPV cockpits do not. But that doesn't mean they're not worth fantasizing over. Our favorite example is from a channel called Brett Hayes, where 9 years ago, he created a simulator-style cockpit, but for FPV. Flight Test has also made numerous videos about the subject, but nothing says immersion to us like a fully enclosed capsule. Now, imagine FPV combat blimp racing with such a setup. Number 8. 3D printed aircraft. 3D printers are one of the coolest innovations for hobbyists in the last 20 years. It's never been easier and cheaper to make whatever stuff you want with such detail and in any shape you want. Wire holders, antenna mounts, wheel chocks for the car ride over, even model pilots are all great things that anybody can print for their plane. But why stop there? Why not print the whole damn thing? There are hundreds of airplanes out there now, both for free and for pay, that you can print, assemble, and fly. Of course, most normal model airplanes are made from wood, foam, and composites, and not just plastic, so printed airplanes are usually a lot heavier than a full production airplane and take a crash about like an eggshell. That's okay though. Fire up the printer and sit tight for another 2 weeks while you print another one.
2 weeks later.
Number 9. Non-Airplane Aircraft. This is a kind of all-encompassing term we've come up with to describe, well, non-airplane aircraft. These include everything from your classic flying lawnmower, Superman, or even an impressively realistic-looking life-size RC flying man. This category basically is proof that you can make anything fly given an angle of attack, enough weight savings, and a lot of power. Number 10. Channel Wing Aircraft. This is an aircraft wing principle developed by Willard Ray Custer during the 1920s for full-scale aircraft. Essentially, a propeller and engine are placed in the root of a wing with half a tube underneath. The idea is that the key to lift is created by a wing in the velocity of the stream of air passing over the wing, not the forward movement of the airplane itself. These occasionally pop up on YouTube with members like Tom Stanton creating RC channel wing aircraft with varied levels of success.
Which didn't end well.
Number 11. Canard Aircraft. These have been found forever, and if you haven't seen one, you probably live under a rock. These are still worth mentioning though, because there's some really cool designs we've seen our community make. Generally speaking, while an aircraft that uses a canard can be more efficient compared to typical designs, the disadvantage comes in the form of stability problems. Some canard designs are advertised as stall-proof due to the canard or elevator surface stalling before the wing. We'll let you guys argue over whether or not this is false advertising in the comments below. Number 12. Fan Wing Aircraft. We included this one at the end because it's arguably not even a niche within RC, but it is a cool concept an aerospace company is working on developing. If you dig around YouTube, you might be able to find a few other examples as well. From their website, the fan wing is a distributed propulsion aircraft with a trapped vortex inside the rotor cage. A cross-flow fan near the leading edge of the wing transfers the work of the engine to the air along the entire wingspan. The resulting increased lift from the trapped vortex and the rearward acceleration of a large volume of air offers a very short takeoff and landing with quiet and efficient short-haul heavy lift capability. This video pretty much speaks for itself, but work started on it in 1998 and continued up through 2013, where it appears a lack of funding has so far halted any further development on the project. Number 13. Serenity. Call it an ornithopter if you want, we call it weird as hell. Serenity creates lift by changing the angle of the wing on the downward stroke. This is the most chaotic RC plane we've ever seen, and you can thank no one else but the Russians for this one. We have no idea what its purpose is because we can't read Russian, but if anyone knows more about this thing, we'd love any information on it that you can provide. It's amazing to see what members of our community have brought to life, and if you're interested in getting more info on any of these niches, be sure to check out the description below. If you'd like to see RC Orithopter FPV Combat, maybe hit subscribe because it's something we're considering diving into, or maybe even hit the like button if bird simulators are your thing. As always, happy landings, bounce one on for us, and we'll catch you next week with a new upload.